What irritates me most about people is that more often than not, they're willing to discount their own life experiences for what they've been told. In other words, they'll throw aside their own common sense just because somebody else says that's not how it is. When life experience and practical application usually tells us different. I've been involved in racing or a fan of racing my whole life. Be it at the demolition derby or at the racetrack or helping people build cars or on more than one occasion building cars for people myself. I may not have made it out onto the track, but I know how it works. And for the most part, if a track is owned by the same promoter or ran by the same promoter long enough, it becomes a good old boy network. Meaning that through special favors and consideration by the right people, gets you special favors and consideration at the track. And most fans don't really notice it until a track changes hands. And all of a sudden, the good old boy network isn't exactly the good old boy network anymore. But the same guys are showing up to race on the weekend that were there before. And suddenly, they can't compete. They find themselves in running semi-features and not making the feature like they used to and not running up front because the rules aren't being manipulated to their favor because of whatever reason. I've experienced this the most at the derby track. If you're not one of the good old boys, you ain't gonna win. Because you don't have your cousin standing on the wall overlooking the illegal moves that you made to make it to the end of the derby. You don't have your brother inspecting cars who know what you did against the rules, yet lets you out there anyways. It happens time and time again. I've seen it a million times. But it always shakes out when the new guy shows up and goes out there, burns up the track, or mows down everybody in the ring on his own without breaking the rules and without kissing nobody's ass so they'll give him special consideration, that the good old boys whine the most. And that's what we've been witnessing politically. Somebody showed up on their own through their own effort and hard work and has put on a show the likes of we, the American public, or what should be the educated fans, have probably seen in our lifetime. Yet, most people are willing to discount the whole thing and say that it ain't real because somebody else said so. Someone else wrote a story. Somebody else said this or somebody else said that. Discounting the fact that the good old boy network was always in place before this guy ever showed up. So, don't listen to the guy in the next pit stall. More than likely, he's full of shit. He was only winning or running up front or collecting a trophy at the demolition derby because he had an edge. In other words, He was gaming the system and or allowed to cheat because he had people behind the scenes, or they had people behind the scenes, allowing them to look like they knew what they were freaking doing when they had no right to be there in the first place. Just because somebody else was giving them special consideration or bending the rules so that they could compete and win was ruining the show for everyone. And that's why I don't watch NASCAR anymore. Because when the big corporations got involved, they ruined the show. And racing no longer, and demolition derbies for the most part, no longer are quite what they seem.